That's
I
it.
got the I
For
got
you.
the lit. I got the lit again, but this time it's the
Oh,
watermelon flavor.
okay.
I had the gummy worm the last time. I'm gonna try this one here.
Got a little coconut water today.
Oh my god. Wow.
It's lit.
It is lit, actually.
It's
Holy
lit. Okay.
smokes. That's probably the best energy drink I've ever drank in my life right now.
You
The
would always drink
flavor,
energy drinks. Now that I remember, right? You were always on these energy drinks.
yo, this one right here has got to be by far the best one I've tasted, flavor wise. You got the Vita Coco. Get some hydration going on here. How's your day going, by the way? How's it going? Are you okay? You
Um, pretty good, man. Same old with my job, man. Trying to make that transition soon. Trying to see jobs who accept me as I am.
did you get it?
I haven't even heard back. Supposed to
Oh,
hear
okay.
back mid this week. Yeah, I think they would have told me by now, like I said, but I'm still looking though, so I'm always active. You know what I'm saying? I
Stay
never.
positive. Stay positive,
Yeah, yeah,
friend.
yeah. No,
All
no,
right.
but it's to the point. I don't know if I want it, but that's a different conversation.
Oh,
Let's get to it.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Listen. I vote that we should just pack up shop, set up a studio. I got plenty of money in my 401k. Let's pack
Oh,
up shop. Let's set up a studio in Texas and start drinks with a nobody radio show. What do you think?
oh, that's not bad. You gonna pack up and go?
I'm ready.
I don't know,
No,
man.
my lady would kill me.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. What up? What up? What up, Michigan? What up, Felicia?
All
Y'all out
right.
here?
So let's roll with some rapid reactions and let's get this show on the road, shall we?
Showtime.
Vaccines, but we should talk about that too, because that's actually important.
Okay, hold on.
That's actually important because that's really distorted, and that's not what he was saying at all. He was not talking about profiting.
Concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers.
Systemic side effect? Okay.
About 80%.
Wow.
Are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this.
She got him on his heels. He pretty much has no
He kind
answer.
of saw. You see him, right? He's patting his head and all that. But, you know.
If they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get response.
Look at Joe. Joe's looking right now. He's like, do you see what's going on here? Like he's
Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, they get into it a bit more, but yeah, from what you saw, was that surprising to you in any way? 80% from some kind of like immediate side effect. I'm not saying people are dying, and that's not what they're saying, right? I don't want to exaggerate what he's saying, but in context, what he's saying is about 80% of the people with the Moderna vaccine, because it's the highest dose one, are getting some type of effect that would knock them out for a few days. Some they'll get deeper into that one, but we stop playing it. But or some swelling or some kind of like permanent minor damage, I would call it, right? So it's like some damage, but it's minor, right? It's not big, but is that it? Should people be big concerned about that? What's your
absolutely
reaction to that?
100%. 100%. And the fact that he says, well, we have to get back to you on that, dude. The fact that you don't know this is concerning. And obviously he's not a healthcare professional, but again, if you are a person who is living under a mandate that's telling you have to get these vaccines, you should be concerning yourself with what are some of the responses, the chemo, the the biology responses. How is your body going to respond to these vaccines? And the fact that he's over there stuttering like,
And the problem is, a lot of these healthcare officials get caught up in that because at the end of the day, no matter how much you know, you don't know enough because this is the experiment right here before our eyes, our people. I'm not saying
we
everybody's
are
going to die. I'm not exaggerating. We just are the experiment. Anyways, let's get
terrible.
to this, man.
That's right. You know what time it is. It's Drinks with the Nobody time. I'm Macho, that's Savory. And I'm glad you guys are here. You're tuning in. We're talking about COVID oppression and Omicron wave. There's a whole bunch of things we're going to be covering and some angles in which you guys probably are not aware of. But just follow. You guys will know exactly what we're doing here. Savory, I got something for you. Did de Blasio actually try to persuade New Yorkers with a cheeseburger to get vaccinated? Did he really try to do that?
I'm gonna have to fact check that right now and say.
Hold on. We'll figure it out. Let's figure it out together.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you to the whole Shake Shack team. This is really going to help us out. Did you say eyes when you get vaccinated?
What a joke.
I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this?
What a joke.
Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This could be breakfast? Okay.
This guy's running for
I want you to
governor,
look at
by
this
the way.
and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination.
Oh, my God.
Vaccination.
Can you believe
that? Nah, that's unbelievable.
Dude,
by the way, what I was gonna say was the lie detector determined that was the truth. That's what I was gonna say for the transition. By the way,
so, you are telling the truth.
Wow, that's crazy.
Unreal.
You know, it's unreal because the seriousness, in one hand, is the seriousness to get people healthy, to get people well, or for them to get vaccinated, no matter the cost. Right? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. To what ends? That video, for every time I see that video, it's like, wait, what? Right? And then you see a statistics coming out where a majority of people who are dying of COVID have 3+ morbidities, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, these are serious things. And why do they have that? Likely because of our diet. We have a bad diet in America. So yeah, that video is out of control.
Adding a cheeseburger and fries is only adding to the problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah, think about it. Like, for what? Like, yeah. It's crazy, man.
And my last point here, this is how much you have to do to convince New Yorkers to get vaccinated. And particularly, we know who are the ones who are not really getting vaccinated. It's people in the inner city. They do not trust government. They do not trust this whole being part of the experiment. They do not want to comply. Why? Because, hey, maybe they have a behavior of being non-compliant. Did anybody think of that? He went there. Yep.
And that's the reality, and that's a perfect transition, so we can talk to the people a bit about what we always do right here, especially in this segment where we do nothing.
We do nothing but keep it 100, baby.
We do nothing but keep it 100. That's a beautiful transition there. And then the thing is about keeping it 100 is, yes, part of keeping it 100 is sharing some things that are not normally shared. Talking about some things that might be cringeworthy for some people. So let's check this out right here really quick. See some of what's happening. I'll let the video speak for itself.
Let's do it.
This is Applebee's. Multiple protesters against mandates just arrested at Applebee's in Queens for trying to order food at a vax-only restaurant.
I have to say, I love the appetizer where you get the spinach and artichoke dip.
Oh, I had that.
I don't know what it is
fire,
about
though.
the chips with it. I just love it. By the way, I just wanted to
They
throw
put
that.
something addictive in that.
It has to be. It has to be.
Let me give him the charger. Let me give him the fucking charger.
This is disgraceful.
I'm on my life. That's it. My life is on. Oh, 9 a.m. Oh, yeah, of course you're not trying to hurt me. You just arrested me. You're not trying to hurt me. No, it's my job in the school system. Can't work, can't eat, and I
My first question before we continue playing this, Macho, do you think she's exaggerating here? Is this a little too much, right? Because what they're doing is like a walk-in. Some people might think it's too much, maybe understandable to a certain extent. Or do you think she's rightly doing this thing to bring this kind of awareness because of where it could lead?
I think it's that part. I think she's just trying to bring awareness. I don't know if it's an exaggeration. I don't know the person personally. I'm just so baffled that NYPD was called to this place. I think it was originally because this person was being, disorderly, and then they decided to just say, "Hey, okay, do you have vax cards? Are you vaccinated? Are you complying? Are you wearing a mask?" All this stuff that all of a sudden now has to be enforced, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think the heart of it, one side was saying it was disruption, but the heart of it was they didn't have a vaccine passport to really sit down and eat, so they didn't get food.
This is what you gotta do because I want to eat. Because I want to eat. Like a free American that I am. And you guys are busting me over this fucking bullshit.
It's a disgrace.
This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You guys, what happened to the Constitution? What happened?
Don't come at them. No! Don't come at them. It ain't their fault. It's not the police's fault.
But do you think, right? And I'll play the last few seconds of this after this. Is there a part to play in, right? It's like when I think of like the officers following these unjust laws under Germany, right? The primary person is Hitler and the people in charge. But these people following orders, that's why we have to be real careful in just saying, oh, it's just the way it is, right?
I
so
agree.
That's kind of my thought there. I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm with you. I'm not all the
No,
way that is their fault, but I'm like, man, but they have to be careful too, man. Are you following the Constitution or just any law they tell you? Are you just going to start arresting people because it's the law only? I don't know. We got to be careful with that.
And I see exactly where you're going there. It's like just because the upper echelon people are telling you to enforce this, does it actually mean that you have to enforce it? Is where you're going at. My only thing is just why I say don't yell at them is because you voted this. You are solely. You guys have to take culpability of what's going on. You before I would even yell at a uniformed officer, I'm going to the highest of the highest. I'm raising a picket stand. I'm raising a tent. I'm pitching a tent, and I'm saying this has got to stop. We need this to stop. And they're only just should they be doing this? No, absolutely not.
But at the end of the day, what you're saying is the people also voted this kind of craziness in it. It's a mixture of both. So I'm with you, Macho. Like Felicia is saying, such a sad thing to watch. I agree. Michigan is saying they don't have to comply, and it's a mixture of a lot of things that have gotten us this far.
No more mandates. No more mandates. I gotta go. There it is. I love y'all. I love y'all, New York Freedom Rally. I love y'all.
Yeah, and this was just outside here. Is the support they had outside as well?
Oh, outside the Applebee's.
Yeah, once they got arrested.
And we also have an incident that happened, or was it a protest? I believe we had a protest at the mall, right?
Yeah. So this is the one because the mall is right there, so it's the one they're referring to.
Oh, I got you. So as a result of this arrest or this interaction, there was a protest at the mall.
Yeah. So in this clip here it was playing in the background, but
got you.
There we go. So you see, this is only 25 seconds, but these are the people outside, which is the mall there, right outside. It's pretty pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to see this because you have now, once you, going to your point, Macho, is once we're in a place where this is happening, the people went wrong in challenging their government and letting this play, right? Because when the audacity is put forth to put something like this out, right? What that means is there've been enough compliance in other areas, right?
So what you're
Before
saying
people,
is, basically what you're saying is you've complied thus far, and now you're complaining. It's too late. You should have been resistant to this from the very beginning.
yes, and I won't say it's too late. You can't do anything. You always got to fight, right? But the problem is again, you give an inch, right? They take three, and now you're really mad. But why you gave them that first inch? Why? Because you needed their help. That's why I got to be very wary, right, of getting help in this manner, right? And we'll talk about that more a bit later. But think about this, right? And one thing, right, that we don't talk about, right, is what's happening in Australia. Think about the craziness there, and we rarely talk about that. And I know why we don't talk about that, right? A primary reason why we don't talk about that is because in one way, it's almost like it's just not feasible that could happen in America. That's the same mindset that gets people who are in love with freedom in trouble. I would expect the cops to stand down once given that order, but I know NY is a very pro mandates. Yeah, the beautiful thing in America, we have different states, but a lot of people, when it's gone this far, they're not thinking to themselves, one day we can be here, another day we can be locked down in camps. So for the American privileged mind, this is why I see the privilege in America. We have gotten it so good for so many years that it's almost like, wait, can it go this far? You think to yourself? And when you think that to yourself, you're like, I don't know if it can go that far, right? And I want to tell people this as we transition to this clip is, trust me, it could go that far anywhere. America's only special because of the power the people have, not the government we have in place. So
excellent point.
Let's roll this.
It took 2 weeks to change the course of the world. It took 2 weeks to enslave every man, woman, and child on this planet. 2 weeks! Let me tell you guys something. I've said it numerous times. I knew from the beginning that this was bullshit. Okay? I knew it since March, and I called it out on Facebook that's been banning me straight for like 7 months non-stop. You want to know how I know?
The sad thing is she sounds crazy. All right, but it's always the person who sounds crazy, and right, she's the stuff she's been challenging, right? And she's been before these mandates were in place and all that. Even like when it first started, she was speaking about this, and it's because of her awareness and what she's afraid of hasn't happened here, right? So you can call her crazy, but has happened in places like Australia, which is why they're in this. In front of it, and this is in New York, by the way, in the Australian consulate.
No, besides the fact that I read the book Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper when I was only 16 years old, in which he speaks about the New World Order and everything that's happening right now. You know how I know it was bullshit? Because once the government tells you to stay home, give up your jobs, close your school, tell you where you can stand so you can buy food. I went to Whole Foods, right? And what got me so angry and upset is that there was a circle telling me that I must stand there. And I thought to myself, what?
I wanted to stop there for a reason. You see those things, Macho?
Yeah.
Are not big things. You think to yourself, oh, they're only telling you to stand in a circle. Oh, they're only telling you to stay home for these many days. Oh, they're only telling you that you have to do. But again, that's how they get you. They roll out the red carpet, tell you it's for public health, and they start taking an inch. But once they take a certain amount of inches, all right, 12 inches, you have yourself a foot already. Now you keep doing that, and they continue to take more and more and more of your freedoms. Again, whether you believe the extreme she believes or not, it's not the point. I'm maybe not with her all the way. Why am I playing that clip? Because what she's saying, whether you like it or not, is happening in Australia, and we have to be really careful with the order of compliance is what I call this. Be very careful in everything you're compliant. It's always going to be for the public good, for the public health. Just be very careful, and at the very least, I would say, question and challenge it. And that's what we're missing here.
Excellent point. And talking about in the spirit of compliancy, we don't understand the trade-offs that comes with this. Where we have something that's really happening right underneath our noses, that we're avoiding, the elephant in the room, and it's just been going rampant. It's been going rampant since the start of this pandemic.
And Macho, let me interject for 1 second to just close this segment on Australia out, and I think you will be intrigued by some of this, right?
All right, tell me what you got here.
So right here. So this is one of the guys who led the SOS from Australia, 42nd Street and all that. You cannot it got to the point, you cannot even peacefully protest. You see this? I'm reading here from the side. Cannot socialize and assemble. He's not exaggerating, all right? Their own government is saying it. There's clips you can look up. Cannot work or operate a business without being subject to coercion. Cannot make personal medical choices, right? Cannot have equality if not vaccinated. Like literally, they're bringing equality only to the vaccinated, which means your rights, right? That's a fancy way of saying your right. The rights in the country are reserved for the vaccinated. Cannot freely express political dissent. When you take it to the extreme, what do I always tell you, Mancho? When the power comes by government, it eventually has to come by force. So now Australia has been pushing so many boundaries that they're left to either they have to do two things: either push back and say, all right, we went too far, which government rarely does that, or say to themselves, hey, we've gone this far. The people who don't want to cooperate, we have to push. So this is just a few seconds, but look.
Rally there in support of our brothers and sisters in Australia who are struggling, dying, being choked to death of
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure it was
all the freedom and liberties that they once had. It's a terrible situation. If you're unvaccinated, you can't leave your house but for work or to get food. The Aboriginal people, the indigenous people in the Northern Territory are being ransacked. There's even reports of people being held down and force injected.
Like you see that you'll never see reports of stuff like that, but it's happening. Do I know, is it most people? Is it most of the country? No, I'm not going to go out and say that. But I do know it's places that it's going to happen, all right? So you got to think to yourself, and he's running down some of these things like, hey, this is a serious thing here, all right? And I wanted to play that in light of the Australian protest so you can know how serious it is. And that man says that's the future in New York. I don't know if it's 2, 5, or 10, but it doesn't matter. Let's wake up.
Let's wake up, baby. That's a great point. Great segment. And here's the ugly elephant in the room that we're avoiding. I got this clip here of this man here, Tim Ballard, who's talking about sex trafficking or human trafficking around the world since the pandemic. And Dennis Prager, who is the host of this show, the Fireside Chat, has some things to say just in general as to what we're saying about the lockdowns. Check this out.
Because it's been my fight from the beginning. I said to great attacks on me that this worldwide lockdown was the greatest mistake ever made on a worldwide basis. Not the greatest evil, the greatest mistake. People did not even ask, what will the consequences be?
Right.
The shattered lives that the lockdowns have brought with no saving of life is a disgrace to the medical profession, to the World Health Organization, to America, to Canada, to Australia. It's a disgrace.
Most people don't even realize this, Dennis. In 2019, in March and April, the reports to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, this is in the United States, was 2 million in excess of what it was the year before.
Really? Because of COVID lockdowns?
Because of COVID lockdowns. What they didn't realize, no one thought to ask the children or think through the children's eyes. What's going to happen when you take away all the safety nets that society has provided for children?
Doesn't matter.
Pedophiles are home alone with their computers. Right. Kids are home alone with their computers.
We'll save one life. We'll screw a million.
Yeah, and that's.
Yeah, again, Dennis Prager asked the very important question: to what consequences do we comply to? And we're going to go through some of the list of consequences in which I don't think people were even thinking about when this pandemic even brought out, when it came out with their with the mandates, the lockdowns, or the COVID relief, that I thought was an amazing cover story that, again, getting slipped through the cracks. Sex trafficking, and check this out, another thing that's slipping through the cracks that no one's talking about.
Started to hear what the numbers were in terms of how much money was going to be allocated to these programs.
Mike Ware is the Inspector General of the Small Business Administration, which is in charge of administering COVID-19 relief for businesses. With Ware's help, we're taking a deep dive into all the fraud that's come with it.
Immediately, we knew it because we had a large body of previous work that we had conducted over decades.
$6.2 trillion. I never signed anything with a T on it.
The amount of COVID funds pouring in.
I want people to really see this. I want people really to see this. Other than the sex trafficking is very important, but check this out. What happens? No one thought about this.
The U.S. economy is mind-boggling. March 6th, 2020, $8.3 billion tax dollars for vaccines and testing, followed by $225 billion for testing, sick leave, and food aid. $2.2 trillion, including stimulus payments, expanded unemployment benefits, and the Paycheck Protection Program. $483 billion more for the Paycheck Protection Program and COVID testing. $920 billion, including stimulus payments, billions more for the Paycheck Protection Program, vaccines, schools, and unemployment. And $1.9 trillion, including more stimulus payments and more money for schools and vaccines. That's about $6 trillion to date, far bigger than the entire economies, the total of all goods and services produced of nearly every nation on the planet. The incredible sums of money were rushed out the door, say watchdogs, without proper oversight in place. Ware says the Small Business Administration quickly got flooded with applications.
What happened was, from the onset, they were doing batch processing. So, I think it was like 17 minutes an officer had to review.
So talk to us a little bit about.
I wanted to clip it there.
Yeah.
Guys, check out that cover story, Full Measure, January 2nd, 2022 by Cheryl Atkinson. Full Measure, it's called. If you can, Savory, share that in the link as well. It is an amazing cover story. That person who is the head of the Small Business Bureau was noticing that there were people who were sending applications by the 200s, boatloads, were pretending to be small business owners, and that they had to pay people checks, that they had an employment staff of 200, 300 people, and they were getting all this money because of the Paycheck Protection Program. They were getting millions. We're talking about the highest that we know today was one man who got $24 million, is serving 11 years in prison because of it, for COVID fraud. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. They said they were able to the fraud just off people, actual people, took about $1 billion, not including the hackers, the computer hackers who were taking money from the COVID relief fund. Billions and billions of dollars, and they were only able to retrieve, maybe out of the $7 billion that was stolen, maybe they were able to retrieve $1 billion, maybe out of all of this in the 2 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of open cases on frauds and money they can't trace back to a business, or money. There's a lot of people who were frauding with Social Security numbers, and my mom would tell me about that as well. People in the area saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna say I own a small business. I'm gonna use this social here. I'm gonna say I pay this person here. So that's that. The investigations are opening on that, and they're probably gonna get a lot of people arrested and in jail because of that. So that's gonna be crazy.
Or depending on how they look at them, they may look the other way. Say, hey, look, because these people were poor, they probably did that. I don't know. My whole thing is, with the way things are now, I don't think people thought long term what this would do, what kind of effects. All they cared about was, this is a matter of national security, global security, people health concerns. People are gonna die. It could be so devastating. Yet it was less than what, 1%? 1% of the entire American population, and I'm not even sure what the population was of the entire globe. But the last concern in which nobody thought about was this.
estimates published by the WHO indicate that 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced an act of violence. And this was before the lockdown. In March, an increase in the number of cases of violence against women was becoming apparent across the world, amounting to a shadow pandemic that we are now faced with globally. In France, for example, there was a 30% increase in the number of cases of domestic violence. And in Argentina, emergency calls from domestic violence cases increased by 25%. In the first
And this was
Most
happening
with a COVID-19 positive PCR test who die within 60 days are considered COVID-associated deaths in Maricopa County Public Health's death surveillance numbers. As of Tuesday, August the 25th, there were 2,804 deaths where COVID-19 was present. 7 of these, or 0.02 of all these deaths, had resulted from injury or poisoning, without COVID-19 being listed on the death certificate. These account for things like trauma, car accidents, gunshot wounds, and even drug overdoses.
Wow.
Yeah, so Macho, you had sent on your video you wanted to share. Share that right quick. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just love what you end with that segment on Keep It 100. That was insane. We can cover that in its own episode of how they overinflated the death count and here in America and some countries because they wanted to receive funding. Other than that, yes, no one really cares about domestic violence, sex trafficking, or COVID relief fraud because again, we got to save a life, right? Just like Dennis Prager said, save one life, screw a million.
Yeah,
Save
man.
one life,
And
screw a million. We can't say it any better than that.
there's no better way to say it. And that's for our closing thought here. That's a beautiful transition. There is, at what cost are we going to allow people in power, elites, and people in government to say public health, right? In the name of public health, how much of yourself, how much of your family, how much of your freedoms, how much of your liberties are you actually willing to give up? It might feel like it's for public health, but it has to be a point where you take your own responsibility for your life. You take your own risk and you tell the government, I got it from here. And that's when you get your full power back. That's when people even are more cautious at times because people are working together. But again, at what cost? Like Dennis Prager said, save one, screw a million. You can save one life. Is it worth it to save that one life, to use that example? And then, yeah, other people don't die, but they lose businesses. They're locked down. They're mentally distressed. Domestic violence. Is it worth it? I would argue no. I'm not saying that life is not worth, every life is worth it. But let's wake up, let's challenge the narrative, and let's really, really, really be critical in what we're saying. Let's critical in what we're doing. And most importantly, what I always say, however you ended this episode, whether you're with us or not, we have one point for you. Ask your questions. Challenge in your own way. Don't trust us, but challenge, push through, and do it your way. But don't just take everything at face value. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We appreciate you. That's Drinks to the Nobody.